All right, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to start off with about the vote that took place yesterday in the House to avert the government shutdown, at least passing the continuing resolution in the House. It still has to go through the Senate, though. And we're also going to talk about how Trump just froze $1 billion for food banks and basically food aid to low income schools. And we're also going to be talking more about the pro Palestine activist that was detained, I guess. He wasn't technically, I mean, it's basically an arrest, but no crime is being charged. They're just, and we'll get into that video, be on the lookout for that. Anyways, starting off, this is from ABC News. After House votes to avert government shutdown, Senate Democrats face stark choice. So we're going to read this article and we're going to talk about we're going to go into more detail of the continuing resolution. There are some decent things in it. When I say decent, I mean like, it's kind of a given, but there's also a lot of points where I think Republicans are kind of sneaking their agenda, parts of their agenda at least, into what's supposed to be just kind of like a hey, let's extend current funding levels as they are until we can get an actual bill passed. So we'll get into that. Anyways, in dramatic fashion, House Republicans passed a bill to fund the government through the end of September 2025, a major victory for Speaker Mike Johnson, who has previously relied on Democrats for bipartisan support to avert a shutdown. The House voted 217 to 213 to pass the spending bill, known as a continuing resolution, days before some funding runs out. Following the House vote, which just saw a single Republican defection, Johnson thanked President Donald Trump, who helped convince GOP holdouts to support the bill. We are united in our mission to deliver the America First agenda, Johnson said in a post on X. The spending bill now heads to the Senate, where it requires 60 votes to pass, and its fate is uncertain. The House approval has left Senate Democrats divided on the stark decision ahead. So yeah, let's be clear. We have not averted the government shutdown. We still have to go through the Senate. The House was kind of a given that it was going to pass because Republicans control it and you just need a simple majority vote. The problem with the Senate is there's the filibuster and they need 60 votes, which they don't have. They need, this article is going to get into it, I believe, but I think they need like 7 Democrats to flip. And along with that, holding all of your Republican votes. So what will Senate Democrats do? There are really only 2 options. One is vote for a pretty bad CR, or the other is to vote for a potentially even worse shutdown, said Senator Angus King following the House vote. So it's a very tough choice. Democrats met for 2 hours Tuesday with no consensus on how they plan to handle the vote on the bill, and the fissure is palpable. Some Democrats are clearly leaning towards casting a painful vote to oppose the House package and effectively shut down the government. Senator Elizabeth Warren branded the House-passed CR a shutdown bill that Republicans will bear responsibility for in a floor speech Tuesday night. A budget is a reflection of our values, Warren said on the floor. This proposal makes crystal clear where Republican values lay. After months of bipartisan talks, they're walking away from the negotiating table and offering a non-starter House bill that forces us to the brink of a full government shutdown. The Republican shutdown playbook is dangerous and it will hurt working families. Though she did not expressly state how she plans to vote on the package, she said House Democrats were right to oppose the measure and said the Senate should follow suit. Democrats in the House have showed us they are united, Warren said. When asked if Senate Democrats should be united in their opposition to the House package, why should it be different in the Senate? Separately, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries suggested Tuesday that Senate Democrats should oppose the measure. The strong House Democratic vote in opposition to this reckless Republican spending bill speaks for itself. Senate Dems vote, so they describe it like a bad dream. Pointing to the stark choice Senate Democrats face, King said he has concerns that the uncharted territory of a shutdown under the new Trump administration has already laid off federal employees. A shutdown is uncharted territory when you've got an administration that, at least in some ways, probably would welcome a shutdown because that would give the president almost unlimited power, deciding who is essential and who is not, or unessential. Folding up agencies, King said, so that is the dilemma that is being discussed. The House has left town for the week after passing their bill. If Democrats in the Senate want to avoid a shutdown on Friday night, they'll have to furnish at least 8 votes to do it, with Republican Senator Ron Paul already stating he'll oppose the package. It's unclear that what route they'll ultimately choose, but some numbers are clearly played by choice. They made a bunch of changes. I want to see what they're changing, Senator John Hickenlooper said. I'm not happy. It's one of those things. Once we go through it, it's going to feel like a bad dream. I've got to go through it. House vote. So we had one Republican vote no and one Democrat vote yes on it. In the House, Kentucky Rep. Thomas Massey voted no. Are we surprised? It's not because he is against, the cuts that they still snuck into this CR. It's because they're not cutting enough. All right, that's why he voted no against the initial budget resolution. That's the whole reason why we're extending, so we can discuss that more. But it's funny. This guy votes no, not because he's like, whoa, you're cutting too much. It's like, you're not cutting enough. This motherfucker probably just wants to see the government shut down in the House. So despite pressure from the president in the form of a primary threat, in the Truth Post Monday, Trump suggested that the defection warranted mounting a primary campaign against Massey. To pass the measure Tuesday afternoon, Johnson relied on some GOP support from Republicans who had never voted in favor of a continuing resolution. Representative Jared Golden was the only Democrat who voted with Republicans. All other Democrats voted against the measure, potentially previewing the posture of Senate Democrats. The CR is not perfect, but a shutdown would be worse. Even a brief shutdown would introduce even more chaos and uncertainty at a time when our country can ill afford it, Golden posted on X. He also slammed Democrats for using what he called messaging gimmicks about the bill. The bill funds the government at current levels through September 30th, 2025. That's partially a lie. What's in the bill? The 99-page bill decreases spending overall from last year's funding levels, but increases spending for the military by $6 billion. While there is an additional $6 billion for veterans health care, that's good. I am 100% for that. Non-defense spending is about $13 billion lower than fiscal year 2024. The legislation leaves out emergency funding for disasters, but provides a boost in funding for immigration and customs enforcement deportation operations. Bro, it's stuff like this where I just don't know how people think that the Republican Party is looking out for them and that they actually care about fiscal responsibility. All right, if they cared, they wouldn't be giving more money to defense spending and border funding. Like, they don't care, okay? I don't know how to make that more clear. Like, how can you not see their priorities just in this alone? That should tell you everything. No, and no money for emergencies or disasters, but immigrations and customs enforcement? You betcha. It also increases funding for WIC by about $500 million, a program that provides free groceries to low-income women and children. I am 100% for this. I think it should be more than $500 million, because I'm sure that program is probably grossly underfunded as well. If you can give $6 billion to defense spending, you could have gave $6 billion to WIC and other social programs instead of cutting $13 billion from non-defense spending. Now that the House has dispatched its bill to the Senate, it's not clear yet how it will fare, as it will require significant bipartisan support to pass the chamber. So, I had ChatGPT, our favorite MAGA consultant, give us a bulleted list of that continuing resolution, and we're going to go over it. I really have mixed feelings overall, because there are a lot of valid reasons why you don't want a government shutdown right now, but at the same time, it's you have to stand on your principles, and they're sneaking cuts into a continuing resolution that's just supposed to say, hey, same as last year, same funding for now until we figure it out. But no, they're sneaking in $13 billion in non-defense cuts, and then giving $6 billion in defense spending. Like, are you kidding me? So that we just went over. Specific allocations, additional funding for border enforcement, we talked about. $1 billion reduction in Washington, D.C.'s budget, we talked about yesterday. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. Yeah, they're cooked. Policy extensions. So, elimination of Medicaid disproportionate share hospital DSH cuts through September 30th, 2025. Extension of Medicare Rural Hospital programs, including the enhanced low volume adjustment and Medicare dependent hospital program through October 1st, 2025. Continuation of key telehealth waivers. Extension of one. We're going to go over all these in a second. Extension of add-on payments for ambulance services in rural areas. We'll get to those. These are mostly pretty good. They are good, as far as good as can get. IRS funding recession repeats a $20.2 billion cut to the IRS enforcement funding, potentially reducing federal revenue by $66 billion over a decade. And let me be clear about IRS cuts. When you cut the IRS, it's not going to lower audits on the middle and lower class. It's going to increase audits because the middle and lower income class is much easier to audit. It requires far less resources as opposed to wealthy people who have hundreds of streams of income and all these expenses and just different streams. That takes a lot of resources. So that's why they always cut the IRS and they frame it as like, we're just getting the people that are going after you, bro. No, they're cutting the people that go after them, leaving the IRS no choice. It's like, well, we don't have the resources to audit the wealthy, so we have to audit someone. I guess we'll do the middle and lower class. Please do the research. I promise. And then, so I think that covers that. So the all the Medicaid and Medicare, all these things that we talked about above, I wasn't really sure because I'm just gonna be honest. I'm completely ignorant on them. So I was just curious. Here's an explanation of them. So the elimination of DSH cuts through September 30th. The federal government provides additional funding to hospitals that serve a high number of low-income and uninsured patients. Previous legislation had plans to cut this funding, but the CR prevents those cuts from taking effect until the end of the fiscal year. So yeah, and originally this was supposed to be cut, but for now they're like, all right, well, we'll wait till next year. But that program is good, I would say. Extension of Medicare rural hospital programs through October 1st, 2025. The enhanced low volume hospital adjustment, which provides extra Medicare payments to small hospitals serving low patient volumes. The Medicare dependent hospital program, which gives additional financial support to rural hospitals that rely heavily on Medicare reimbursements. These programs are set to expire, but are now extended to help rural hospitals stay financially viable. And we'll see if these I would bet a lot of money that these programs get cut in the actual legislation that's passed, not the CR, obviously. But yeah, telehealth, self-explanatory. So the 141 Work Geographic Practice Cost Index. So that's basically Medicare uses a formula to adjust doctor payments based on where they work. Some areas get paid less because of lower cost of living. Basically says, hey, we want to make sure the payments of Medicare don't dip below a certain level so that, if they dip below a certain level, doctors and physicians, whatever, are going to leave the area. So that's a very good thing to have. Extensions of add-on payments for ambulance services in rural and super rural and urban areas through October 1st, 2025. Medicare provides extra payments for ambulance services in certain areas to cover higher costs. That's all fine and dandy. Those are good, but it's not like these are anything new. These are just simple extensions, but it sounds like at least that first one, I would be, if I was a betting man, I would bet that a lot of these are going to be on the chopping block, but hey, time will tell. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. I'm like 50-50 on this, man. I feel like I don't know enough about all of this to give a hardcore opinion. I just kind of give you my opinions on certain things as we went. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'm genuinely interested to hear because I have no clue. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.